Knox County students. I'm Kat Goddard-Javolsky, and I teach 8th grade English at Carter Middle School. Today's lesson is based on Task 3, Grade 7 ELA. If you don't have this assignment in a paper copy, you can simply visit the KCS website by going to knoxschools.org. Click on See All Resources right here under the KCS At Home logo. Be sure you've completed the entire week's task before continuing with this video. So if you haven't completed the KCS At Home Summer Edition task number 3, go ahead and stop this video and then come back to me once you've finished, and then we can go over it together. As I said before, this is grade 7, summer task 3. The activity is 2.13. Exploring and evaluating reasons and evidence. Prior to this, you read a text by Rooney, and that was an argumentative text where you did have to determine a claim, the author's claim. You'll be doing the same thing here, except for our focus or learning targets are to explain how evidence is used to support the author's purpose and message, and to identify the claim of an argumentative text. So you know how to do that already. But we're going to be focusing more on the author's purpose and message for this particular text. That way, in your next lesson, you'll be looking at opposing claims and be better prepared for it. All right, as you can see, the preview is, in this activity, you will review the characteristics of argumentative text and conduct research to identify valid reasons and evidence to support a claim. So supporting a claim, it says, in a successful argument, the claim must be backed up with support, such as valid facts, details, and examples. A writer can support his or her viewpoint with both reasons and evidence. So it asks you to brainstorm what you already know about these concepts. So when I'm thinking, if I'm you, I'm thinking if I have reasons I want to do things, reasons I want to go to my friend's house, I have reasons I want to go to the school dance, or reasons I want to go out to eat instead of stay home and eat what my mom is cooking, right? So those reasons are just kind of points or opinions a lot of the time. So a writer can show these reasons or points or opinions to support their claim. However, it's not going to be as strong as if you had actual evidence to help back up your claim. As I'm sure you know, evidence is a stronger support because it could be facts, statistics, historical documents, pretty much any kind of primary or secondary source that's credible. As you know, you've learned about claims, reasons, and evidence as important elements of effective arguments. Rhetoric is the art of using words to persuade in writing or speaking. In your previous lessons, I'm pretty sure that you have learned about loaded words, loaded language. So writers find interesting ways to use just the right words that appeal to their audience in order to convince them. Rhetorical appeals can strengthen an argument by appealing to logic, which is logos, emotions, pathos, or a sense of right and wrong, which is ethos. All right, so here you can see the 3 rhetorical appeals and kind of get a better understanding of it for some examples. So pathos, which is the emotions or passion, easier to remember it. The definition is the use of an emotional appeal. Examples could be heartwarming stories, personal experiences, humorous jokes, pitiful photographs, etc. Now, logos, which means logic, is the use of logical arguments. This is going to be a really one that we focus on today. So examples might be statistics, facts, reasonable arguments, logical organization of information. And ethos. So ethos, like I said before, is like right or wrong. So this is ethics. So it's the use of credibility and trust. Examples are quotes from professionals, customer reviews, celebrity endorsements, personal qualifications, etc. So that's like, Michael Jordan's shoes, and he's in the commercial. Like, you want to buy them because Michael Jordan says they're really good basketball shoes, and he's a credible source for that. All right, another great example that I think you can more relate to is from the storyboard. So this is ethos, and the principal knows that his position commands a lot of authority among pupils, and he uses this to convince them not to use cell phones. So it says, as your principal, I warn you not to use cell phones in this class again. This is prohibited. Then for pathos, again, this is like your emotion base. The person says, can you imagine how it would feel if use phones while you were talking. This is all about respect. So this speaker forces the children to imagine themselves in a different situation, appealing to empathy and respect. And then logos, this is our logic, again, kind of our focus for today. It says, actually, research shows that students who don't look at phones score 23% better on exams. So this person is persuading you by presenting you with scientific evidence, which is an example of logos. It's logical because you have those statistics in there, which is really our focus for today. So remember, we're looking for statistics today throughout the article. As you have done in previous texts, when we annotate this article, you are going to be marking it by circling unknown words or phrases, using your context clues or word parts, even the dictionary if you can, to understand those words better. You will be interacting with the text as you read by underlining the statistics or highlighting if you choose to do so. So you'll be underlining the statistics the author uses as evidence. What I like to do when I start out with an article is to sic the text. So this is where you're scanning and identifying and connecting. You're scanning for text features. So in this case, I see the news article. So I know that this is coming from a news article. If I look down here, it says by Karen Kaplan, Los Angeles Times. I know Los Angeles Times is a credible source. It's a very well-known newspaper. So I've got my title here, and so I'm connecting with this title. This is like a deeper annotation where you're noting. Annotating means to note something, not just to mark it, but to note it. So you're kind of noting what you're thinking as you're reading and making connections to other things. So it says another study highlights the insanity of selling junk food. So I noticed that the word, I'm going to make comments off to the side because I can't actually underline and write on my paper. If you have paper at home, that's great. Write on your paper. If you're doing it on the computer, this is how I'm doing it. I'm making comments on the side. So it says another study highlights the insanity of selling junk food. The word another really stands out to me because that means that this is not the first study. It also, to me, I can kind of, the author already seems kind of irritated. This is another study that highlights the insanity of selling junk food. Now, the reason I like to stick the title first is because it helps get my mind in the mood and gets me focused on what I'm about to read. It gives me a preview and an understanding of all of the text that I'm going to have to analyze. So it already gets my mind set on and prepared to take in what I'm going to be reading. So the first word I'm going to look at is another. This word is interesting to me. So another study, really. I find it interesting they say another study because another means that there is more than just this one. So more than just this one article has already been written. It also, to me, seems like it's a little irritating and redundant. So from the author's point of view, possibly, I could infer that. So if I'm making my comments, I'm just going to go ahead and comment that. That way it's with that highlighted thing. So it says another study highlights the insanity of selling junk food. The word insanity sticks out to me. So I'm going to highlight insanity if I can. There we go. Okay, so you may be thinking, what insanity? That means insane, or another word for insane could be crazy. It also makes me think of how Einstein said, what was it? That insanity is continuing to do something the same way over and over again and expecting a different result. So I'm just going to put expecting a different result. Okay. And then it says, I'm going to go ahead and press comment here. It says of selling junk food. So selling means to make a profit, right? They're going to be making a profit. Junk food, that has a real negative connotation. And if you remember probably from your previous lessons, connotation is more about the emotion behind the word, where denotation is the dictionary definition. So junk, to me, I have to think about, well, what kind of connotation does that give me? What words does it make me think of? So to me, this is something that is unwanted or unnecessary, even gross. So this has a real negative connotation. So they're profiting off something that's bad. In school vending machines. School vending machines is really interesting. So to me, when I think of school, I'm thinking of kids. And then I'm asking the question, because you should always ask questions as you're reading. Is this all schools or just some schools? And if this is for kids, and kind of my thought process that I'm going through is like, why are we selling things that are bad for kids if schools are supposed to be doing what's always best for kids? So already I have these thoughts in my mind that the author has put there for me to think about. So as with reading any kind of informational article, you're always going to kind of want to look at the boxes along the side that help you get a better understanding of whether it's words or something like that. So this one's easily confused words. Learn to use affect and effect correctly. Affect is generally used as a verb and means to influence. And the example they have is marketers are aware of new calls for federal action, including voluntary marketing guidelines that would affect food marketers. Effect, which is like cause and effect, is generally used as a noun and means a result. So like I said, cause and effect. Because this happened, this is the result. So the example they use is the one that's also in the article in paragraph 4, and it says, but the net effect on kids' diets was not good. So when we get into reading, you'll notice that that's something that we can remember, and net effect means overall result, and that's from this little box down here. So if it were me, I would go ahead and write overall result right over net effect, just to remind myself that that's what it means. Okay, so we're going to read this together and kind of annotate together. Remember, your purpose for reading, while I would go more in depth on these annotations typically, but our purpose is to focus on the statistics and that logos, that logical appeal to the reader, to the audience. So it begins with, for many students, back to school means back to a vending machine diet. As you might guess, this isn't necessarily a good thing for student health. Now, while we're reading, I am going to be looking at, if you scroll down just a little bit, these questions down here. I like to always read some questions before I start reading my text. So we have, let's see. Which sentence in the text introduces the author's purpose and message? We also have in paragraph 4, what context clue helps you understand the likely meaning of the word abstained? What evidence supports the notion that selling junk food in the school vending machine is insanity? So why might the author have chosen such a strong word? We've already talked about insanity having also that negative connotation, as well as the word junk, and what that makes us think of. And then we have noticed the emphasis on facts and statistics. What inference can you make about how the writer is trying to convince the audience? So these are things we're going to be thinking about as we're reading and annotating and marking. I'm just going to scroll back up. Okay, so again, we've read the first sentence. We already know that the author thinks this isn't a good thing. The fact that the author uses the word you is interesting to me, because she's already wanting to draw the reader in and make you feel like you're part of this understanding that she's saying. So she, as you might guess, this isn't necessarily a good thing for student health. So for paragraph 2, it says vending machines are found in 16% of U.S. elementary schools, 52% of middle schools, and 88% of high schools. About 22% of students in grades 1 through 12 buy food in vending machines each day, and those purchases added an average of 253 calories to their diets, according to a new study in the September issue of the Journal of School Health. All right, so that we had a ton of statistics in this paragraph. So you could have underlined or highlighted the statistics. And one thing I maybe even would have noted is that the statistics are really interesting to me. So something that stands out to me about the statistics is that we've got 16% of U.S. elementary schools, 52% of middle, and 88% of high. So I guess my question is, why are there more vending machines in middle and high school? Which is kind of interesting. It says about 22% of the students in grades 1 through 12 buy food in vending machines each day. Ooh, but that's 1 through 12, about 22%. So that's less than half. So you might be kind of noting on your paper, you know, this is less than half. And those purchases added an average of 253 calories to their diet. So a lot of people are calorie counters. So to me, that's a pretty good thing to kind of put in there, especially if you're thinking about possibly your audience. Do you think the audience might be children or students? I mean, I personally don't think this person's talking to children or students, because we all know that the students y'all love some vending machines in the school. So, and a lot of you aren't really super concerned with your caloric intake at this point, although your parents might be. So 253 calories to your diet is typically a lot for a daily intake. So this to me is speaking to audience as parents is what I would think. And you've got a new study in the September issue of the Journal of School Health. So that's also a good thing to note as well, that this is from a new study. Just to be clear, those were not 253 calories worth of tofu, yogurt, or carrot sticks. So these are tofu, yogurt, and carrot sticks. This is kind of that appeal where you're thinking about, oh, these are really healthy foods. Like, to be clear, this is not from that. The most popular vending machine items included soft drinks, candy, chips, crackers, cookies, cakes, and ice cream. These are all filled with sugar. So something you might note, like they're giving examples, which is good pieces of evidence. So examples for evidence of sugary snacks. And then you've got, on the plus side, kids also bought low-fat milk, fruit juice, and even fruit, the study found. I want to know where those vending machines are, because I haven't seen that. This is a good example of kind of their acknowledging the other side. So the other side, like the opposing side, they're acknowledging this is kind of like if you're doing a counterclaim. So on the plus side, kids also bought low-fat milk, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then paragraph 4, but the net effect, and remember that's that overall result. So the overall result on kids' diets was not good. So all of these vending machine snacks, the overall result is, hey, this is a bad thing. Those who bought from vending machines ate an average of 156 grams of sugar per day. So this is very, very specific. So this is like very specific evidence that I would note or highlight or underline. And I'm just going to put very specific evidence over here. I won't do that every time, just to get you kind of going. So that's something you would underline or star or whatever you'd like to put by it. Compared with 146 grams for those who abstained. So this is kind of interesting to me. So the word abstained, what are we contrasting here? So we have students that are buying from vending machines, eating an average of 156 grams. So you're comparing them to the 146 grams for those who abstained. So if we think about the word abstained and what this is saying, and this is a lower number here, so this is we know that they're probably being compared to someone that is not, getting food out of vending machines. So someone who has abstained from it, has stayed away from it. So that's something I would have circled, that word abstain, and maybe use my context clues and what it's talking about to help me better understand it. Now, what I do find interesting here is that it's only 10 grams less for those who did not use the vending machine. So I find that interesting. So I'm going to kind of, if I can get it on here. All right, so I'm just going to highlight the 146 grams. I think that's a good point, that it's only 10 grams less. Sorry for my typos. I find interesting. And what the author did do, though, is that when she started, she was having that rebuttal. Right before that, she had that acknowledging the other side. Now she has a rebuttal like, hey, this is still not good. And she's explaining why and giving evidence for it. So they also consumed less dietary fiber, iron, and B vitamins like thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folate. So more sugar. This is my takeaway. More sugar, less nutrients. That is something I would have written down. So I'm just going to highlight this. And taking more sugar, less nutrients. All right, so paragraph 5. One silver lining, vending machine customers ate 4% less sodium than other students, an average of 3,287 milligrams per day compared with 3,436 milligrams for those who didn't buy any from vending machines. One silver lining, vending machine customers are 4%. One silver lining, vending machine customers ate 4% less sodium than other students, an average of 3,287 milligrams per day compared with 3,436 milligrams for those who didn't buy from vending machines. So I find this interesting. So she's saying, hey, this is something good about customers that didn't eat from vending machines. This is also something kind of shocking to me. So I'm going to highlight this. You might want to underline it or star it. I mean, to me, like you might put an exclamation point by it or something like, wow, this is kind of crazy. This is a lot of sodium. And if you don't know what sodium is, that might be a word that you would circle. This is just another word that we use for salt. So their intake of salt, the sodium, is, I'm just going to put vending machines here. That way I just know what it is. Because again, when you're annotating, you're noting things, you're not writing the whole sentence out. You're just kind of making little bullet points. It says, that's probably because the extra snacks made kids too full to eat as much at mealtime, when dishes are especially salty. So that's interesting to me. So I'm going to highlight this. And to me, this is saying, first of all, this is one of those reasons or assumptions. Not necessarily the best evidence. There's not a whole lot of evidence to back it up. It has some evidence, but this is really kind of making an assumption, so it's not going to be the strongest thing. Also, this is implying the cafeteria food is worse for sodium than vending machines. So we have different reasons why we do and don't eat things. Some are sugar, some are sodium, calories. We look at all those kinds of things when trying to eat healthful. So that's something I think is important to note. In any event, kids should eat no more than 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams of sodium each day, according to the Mayo Clinic. Now, the Mayo Clinic is an absolutely credible source. It's a very well-known medical research hospital, one of the best in our country. So that's something I would note. This is a very credible source. And it's saying, hey, kids should eat no more than 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams. Again, we're using numbers here. This is the logic and a credible source. So this is a good piece of evidence here. So you would maybe star it as well, like, hey, credible source, make a big star by it, maybe even a double star. Then it says, even for adults, the government recommends a daily limit of 2,300 milligrams of sodium. So for an adult. So to me, that is very interesting. So students are eating more sodium than is recommended for adults. So to me, that's like, whoa, that's crazy. So overall, when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking, well, which one is worse, the vending machine or the cafeteria? To me, here is where the author loses me a little bit. Going on to paragraph 6, it says, overall, vending machines in school appear to be taking a toll on public health. The researchers from the University of Michigan, Michigan State University, and Food and Nutrition Database Research, Inc. of Okemos, Michigan, calculated that all that snacking adds up to about 14 extra pounds per child per school year. Whoa. So in this, to me, you've got a credible source here, so you'd probably want to star that. Calculate that all the snacking adds up to about 14 extra pounds per child per school year. That's a lot. So something I might want to know as I'm reading this is like, well, how many children were actually in the study? So it goes on, for some students, this might be a serious contributor to weight issues. Other public health problems include type 2 diabetes and cavities. The author really, in this section, speaks to parents because type 2 diabetes, cavities, and other health issues, these are all things that parents are thinking about. So the author really does focus on the audience a lot here. She is using credible sources. The last paragraph, it says, the study was based on data collected from 2,309 children nationwide for the third school nutrition dietary assessment study, which was conducted by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service. So this is kind of closing out the article, saying like, hey, here's my proof. All right, so this next section is the soapstone section. The first part is about the subjects. What is the issue? Well, we've already determined through our annotations that it's about school vending machines promoting unhealthy eating by students. Then the occasion. Well, statistics prove vending machine snacks add about 14 extra pounds per year, yet schools still choose to profit from an unhealthy lifestyle. The audience, as we previously stated, this is really geared towards parents, but it can be as well students, and really everyone is affected by this issue. And then the purpose, the author really wants to make a change, but knows it's going to be more than, it's going to take more than this article or just her own, educated opinion to do so. The speaker or writer, she used, a lot of logos, so logical appeal using facts and statistics while citing credible sources. For number 7, so this is basically a summary of our soapstone. So school vending machines promote unhealthy eating habits. And then credibility of reason / evidence. So this is where you're kind of explaining. So statistics show that these effects are proven. So we've given, the increase of type 2 diabetes and obesity, and then the explanation is that the statistics are going to prove that. So it says, write a body paragraph or an argument of essay. Choose a claim that either supports or refutes. And again, if you don't know a word like refutes, you can use your context clues. So supports or refutes. So the word or in between those already shows me, hey, this is going to be the opposite of that. So, and refutes reminds me of the word refusing or refuses. So supports or refutes. So goes for or against the use of vending machines in schools. So you're writing this paragraph for a class argument of essay, plan the essay as follows. So it gives you a good plan for how to do it. Like your topic sentence refers to the claim stated in the intro paragraph. Basically what this is the racist strategy. So I'm going to show you what that would look like using the racist strategy. Okay, so vending machines should not be used in schools because of the negative impact on student health. So I have my restatement and my answer in the same sentence. For example, so here's where I cite evidence. Researchers from the University of Michigan, Michigan State University, and Food and Nutrition Database Research, Inc. of Okemos, Michigan, calculated that all that snacking adds up to about 14 extra pounds per child per school year. So I did do a direct quote here. and I cited it with the paragraph number because I only have one article. Thus, vending machine snacking increases the likelihood of type 2 diabetes as well as of obesity. Since vending machines are optional, schools should be more inclined to provide all aspects of a safe learning environment. So what I did there for my explanation is I used some more information from the article, but also added some of my own knowledge. Therefore, schools should not choose to profit from vending machines knowing the negative consequences. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Have a nice day.